Welcome to the EGC 20k Age of Empires 4 tournament. This is the finals. Prepare yourself for the first engagement. Vinisti gratis. This is it. We are here. It's you, me, inspiring music, and two commanders. It's all about them, so let's introduce our combatants that have dedicated themselves to the arts. You don't have to worry about them. They're harmless. That was the famous last words of the previous guy before they encountered the leader of the Abyssal dynasty, TheMista. Their linens are yellow. Probably shouldn't ask why. Decorated in the finest fabrics, coated in blue, leading England to death or glory. They go by the name TheViper, a title given to them because they crippled their enemies slowly like poison, I assume. Can't read too much into these names, but anyway, I formally welcome our commanders to Lipany. Now in these finals, it is a best of 7. The map selection is locked in. Let's take a look at them now. Lipany is a terrain that can be randomly hostile depending on the seeds, and with this Lipany, I admire God's work here. It's a great Lipany. England versus Abyssal dynasty has not been a common matchup. England is fairly predictable. They want to take advantage of their long-range long bows, then enhance that further with their network of castles' influence, increasing their attack speed for some rapid firing. They lack some economic benefits until they get into the Castle Age, unlike their opponents. The Abyssal dynasty gets some benefits from gathering berries early on, and in the Feudal Age brings some free battering ram tech, as well as the potential for camel archers. Those camels can provide +1 armor to all nearby units for every unit in vision range of that camel. That's a large range. They are expensive units though. The biggest things camels bring is debuffing enemy cavalry, but we rarely see England use their cavalry. There's a lot of other things to factor in the Feudal Age, but we'll talk about those if they make it in play, as well as lots of stuff outside of the Feudal Age. Let's see if our commanders can live through to the Castle Age, and it's rare that we even see the Imperial Age. So if you are joining us for the first time to watch the finals, you've missed some amazing games. You can watch every single match from the final 16 commanders right here on Ironcast. The Viper and TheMista have defeated everyone they've come across so far. TheMista subjugated the regions of F-Pop, Say My Name, Juicy Slice, Mini Malt, Igers, Velez, Marine Lord, and Vortex. The Viper has vanquished DS Berry, Simtom, Rascal, Shawarma, ACCM, Zerton, Lucifron, and Recon. That's a lot of ons at the end. Zerton, Lucifron, Recon. Like 3 legendary fables. Maybe one day they'll set aside their differences and unite in a glorious 3v3. Yes, that'll be a tale to tell the grandkids. The planet is literally on fire, Grandpapa. Why are you telling me this? He's a very fancy kid.
Well, Junior, you should know your Age of Empires history to avoid making the same mistakes we did.
And history is exactly what we are watching. Feudal Age is on its way, then the real game begins. So before that, big shout out to the EGC for hosting the first ever Age of Empires 4 tournament 2 weeks after the release. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that's designed to showcase competitors' initial adaptation to the game and see what the game is like without a long-term developed meta. The EGC are huge investors into the future of Age of Empires 4. If you are looking to compete seriously or looking for more games to watch, check out the video description or details below for a link to their Discord where you can find out more. However, we are Ironcast. We love RTS, a more community-orientated channel looking to do a wider range of fun. we have 2 projects in mind. If you like the sound of a multiplayer Total War campaign on Age of Empires, where you pick a side to dedicate your fight for, then join for some big 2v2s, 3v3s, and 4v4s, China vs Mongol, England vs France, that kind of stuff. Or perhaps you like the idea of team games with a class system. If any of that sounds like it's for you, and you want your games casted, jump into the Ironcast Discord and let's work it out together. Okay, back to the game. The economic wing for TheMista, that allows for the research of the fresh foodstuffs technology, which makes villager cost 50% off, or buy one get one free, best utilized with extra town centers. The Viper with the council hall makes longbows super fast. Couldn't be simpler. The Viper is also taking on deer, and the TheMista did have an outpost overlooking both berries and deer, and it's a good spot to consolidate all of their food production. But there's always a trade-off between having all your villagers in one place. That's easier to focus your defenses and protections. However, if your villagers have to be pulled away from gathering, then that's where having lots of different gathering spots helps. You only short a small portion of your resource income that way. Viper already sending out an expeditionary force, a party of 4 seeking some villagers to harass. They will be met with 2 horsemen, TheMista, readying the direct counter force. And I've got to say, this is a really impressive thing, to be able to match longbows so aggressively. Light cavalry costs a little more bows and longer to train. They drive away this initiation. More longbows arriving, 2 longbows down, sparing one of their light horsemen. He's not going to be able to achieve much, being 1 shot away from death. Still though, it's nice to see some consideration for the lives of their soldiers. The TheMista scout discovering how odd this Lipany is. There's still a direct path between the 2 settlements, but flanking will be hindered slightly. Then there's this massive plains area here, so much empty space for activities. And of course, these grand cliffs, absolutely beautiful. Wouldn't it look luxurious to have a tower sit upon the top? I've been wishing for one this entire tournament, but alas, it has not happened yet. The TheMista's light cavalry on the move. Now, if you have light cavalry, you probably want to use the most advantageous thing about them, and that's their mobility. What can 5 horsemen do, though? We shall see what their triumphs might be, but once they leave to attack, the Viper's archers linger. And they don't know where that light cavalry has gone. The Viper treads with caution, sending 2 longbows ahead to scout, but return with disappointing information. They couldn't see anything. What's scarier? Seeing a spider in the room, or knowing there is a spider, but not knowing where that spider is? Yes, well, here comes the spider. Laser Tultul Melody, not the berries. A villager surrounded and receives a 360-degree spearing clobbering, and the other villager can't afford time off work, so back they go. Now the Viper knows where that cavalry is. What will they do? Attack with a scout? Yeah, get out of here, villager. The longbows did move forward. Now they are moving anti-forward. Is this in order to return home at once and defend the great United Kingdom of England? I think it just might be. The TheMista forcing the Viper to have to defend. It's very preferable because longbows have amazing range, and should they get the opportunity to fire upon villagers, they are going to kill and deny resources rather easily. This way, though, the TheMista keeps fighting away from their villagers and can build up a happy economy. And it only cost 5 horsemen to do that. What a bargain! Riding into the Viper's fog of war, putting them on edge. When will that next strike occur? And what can I do to prepare for that? The TheMista accumulating a bigger force back at their settlement. Getting some new houses, focusing largely on food and wood to provide their military with cavalry and archers. 2 stables and a blacksmith. Now these archers will struggle to fight longbows, but if the longbows are fixated on dealing with the horsemen, then they'll get put to use. If the longbows focus on the archers, then the light cavalry will perform better. Viper sees all of the light cavalry that awaits them. That's the kind of knowledge they seek. But how will they use that knowledge? There is a barracks, and it already has begun training spearmen. They will help protect the longbows, and the longbows can also place down palings to help defend against cavalry. I do hope we see some of that action. The Viper settlement looking pretty. A couple of villagers are on stone. It'll take some time, but that could be an investment into a second town center. TheMista reaches out for more berries. Lots of outposts are getting put up. Just some precautionary measures being taken. The three options being to avoid areas with towers in them, try to inflict casualties fighting under them, or bring some heavy equipment to destroy them. They are quite potent to units that lack armor, especially scouts. The blue villagers take up arms inside. Oh no, what's the scout doing? Are you mad? Have you lost your mind? Do we not pay you enough? My God, they're alive! With all those arrows in them, I'm sure they probably don't want to be. Now this is a great spot for a wall. Building one here would in part lock out any potential threat from those horsemen approaching. And doing the same over here would entirely lock out a southern advancement or harassment. That way Viper could keep their eyes forward. They are moving through this passageway to begin what could be their first assault, a formidable army to challenge what TheMista has. Cavalry are supposed to be the hard counter to archers, but horsemen, which have no armor, can quickly become very weak to mass longbows. Those longbows will do full damage to them as they try to approach, and that's before we even consider palings or the spearman protection or just the sheer numbers involved. That's a lot of longbows against not much cavalry. The Viper marches towards the berry farm. The tower spots them and TheMista responds quickly, but not before a single casualty is inflicted. What happens next? Is TheMista going to attack Viper's settlement to try and force them back? No, that's not it. They are bringing the other half of their army over. Now, if they had the vision, they could try to outmaneuver and get behind the archers. That'd be devastating to Viper's army, but it's rare to see flanks at that level. The 2nd Cavalry Group spotted walking right up in front of their field of view. And with the position of those trees, it would have been so good to have locked them in that tight space. I wonder if Viper realized that, had a bit of a panic attack, and has now made rectifications to how they will approach this mill. It sure looks like it. They are avoiding putting themselves in that corridor again. TheMista, on the other hand, wants to try and flank. There is another advantage to these trees near the cliffs, and that is the line of sight blocker that TheMista could use to try and get behind the Viper. The Viper divided their forces. I'm not sure why. Was it to goad TheMista into fighting? It seems to have worked. Layers of wooden stakes laid on the ground. Spears at the front. TheMista retreats under a hail of arrows. It seems clear that the Viper holds more firepower, and TheMista fears that. This is what worried me. Light cavalry should beat archers, but these aren't just any old archers. They're the English longbowmen. But even if they were ordinary archers, it feels like light cavalry still has trouble dealing with ranged units. They charge in, they take damage, then are punished if they retreat too. This is the release version of the game, so like no balance patches just yet. The Viper's troops gain a boost of morale for whatever that's worth here. They cheer and bust out the celebratory torches for a bit of mill burning. Solid pastime. 5 horsemen riding out behind another 3. Oh, and behind them is the rest of the cavalry. Strike! Whilst the fire on the mill is hot. The berry farmers have found new pickings, and the Mista has almost reached the castle age with the culture wing. Archers enrolled into playing defense whilst this attack starts. Few longbow are stationed near the town center. The Mista lacking information on where to strike exactly. They want some villagers, and there are some back here. Most of them, though, can take cover inside the tower. The rest left to fend for themselves as always. It's not much of a bounty for this marauding army, but the Viper still doesn't like that this has happened. So they are repositioning their army within the stealth forest. Mista rallying up with their archers, who have brought a Spring-Eld and a Mangonel. You can see the importance of scouts or towers over these stealth forests. Somewhat of a surprise battle. The spears, fortunate to be close to the cavalry. The Mista would have been at a disadvantage if it were not for that Mangonel. It landed a good hit on the spears, and its presence means Viper cannot fight stationary. Would be wise to gain visionary control over this forest. There's usually always a stealth forest between the two locations on Lipony, so it's likely this path will be crossed. What is your major malfunction, man-at-arms soldier? Just out here alone? The Mista increasing their arsenal of siege weapons. Not only that, but there are knights arriving too. Knights are going to be hard for Viper to shut down. If they can't get to the castle age soon, then their people will be suffering from an overwhelming lack of freedom. The Viper losing their outpost next to the mill. Though they managed to claim most of the deers out here. Mista bringing in a battering ram as well, and a lone camel, which will be providing armor to all nearby units. Fantastic! The Viper doesn't want to meet the Mista in battle. A sound logic. Feel free to destroy my outpost and mill. They are merely time imitating as constructs. And the Viper can use that time to figure out what the hell to do. They are scrambling for a white tower landmark. Basically an immediate keep. Their longbows take position near the town center, but they're not going to do too much damage to a battering ram. The bells are ringing. That sound means those longbows will get a ranged attack speed buff. That's what that network of castles bonus is. They are too nervous to attack. There is a gathering of men-at-arms. They'll want to lead from the front. I think the Viper is waiting for the units to get their upgrades to give them a better chance. Because this might be the only chance they get. Now, sadly for those men-at-arms, the Spring-Elds will likely fire upon them, dealing 60 damage a shot. They'll contribute significantly to their demise, and without those men-at-arms, I don't think those longbows will survive. The Mista situates themselves in the north, away from the White Tower Castle. Quite the mixed composition now. There's just so many troublesome things to have to deal with. The Mangonels aren't perfect for destroying buildings, but heck, they are going to be amazing at covering any unit that wants to touch that battering ram. The Viper just keeps moving backwards as they try to think of a solution to all of this. They are backed into a corner. Something has to eventually give, though. Viper has a Spring-Eld brought up. It's going to be tough to compete on a Spring-Eld production battle. They do destroy one. And that clearly angered the Mista. Viper loses their only Spring-Eld. And the battering ram is working hard on that town center. It seems inevitable it will fall. What will become of the villagers inside? Soldiers are operating the nearby towers. The Mista's cavalry charges in to torch one of the towers. Wow, that's burned fast. And again, the Viper falls back. These are losses that, for now, they are tolerating. Some of you may be asking, what are you waiting for? Screaming at the screen. And the answer to that is a chance. They're waiting for a chance. Many villagers are being displaced in need of a job. The Viper pulling their entire army around. It's in no way going to be a base trade. They're not going to go venture that far off. That would be silly. But what I think this is, what I think they are trying to do, they are going to try and pin the TheMista at the back of their base, completely cutting off almost their retreat. As difficult as that might be, and as unlikely as the TheMista will want to retreat, I think this is a solid choice for the Viper to just try it. The woodcutters have relocated over here. Good for them. There's such a heavy investment in these longbows. The TheMista hard counters them with all those knights. I know even the best laid plans can go awry, but the TheMista is going to have to mess up pretty badly to somehow get all their knights slain in battle. 3 spring elves are born. Yes, let's see how the Viper can put them to use. It'll be tough to protect them though, with very few spears and swords that they have available. A new barracks is on its way. Not sure how many soldiers can be thrown out of here, but every little helps. The line formation has been chosen. It will help the archers get shots off quicker, but at the same time, it's perfect for knights to walk up to the nearest archer and clobber them. The spring elves manage to pick off a mangonel before the fight starts. The archers spreading out. They won't get much use out of the bonfires. It must take about 50 shots, 50 whole longbow arrows to take out a single knight. It seems like an impossible feat to accomplish. The Viper heading back to the White Tower for whatever protection that might be able to offer. They do get the blessing of attack speed. That'll up their damage output by 25%. It is possible to upgrade that to a 50% attack speed later on. I'm not sure if the TheMista is granting the Viper some breathing room here, or if Viper genuinely pushed the TheMista back. Now, I say this because it's not like Mista's knights are acting distressed. They aren't running back to base, they're just kind of chilling. The TheMista doesn't want to fight near that White Tower. They are okay with everything else. The White Tower, though, that's off limits. That's where we draw the line. They'll need a bigger tool to break that, and I have to ask, why not just break everything else? Well, the answer to that question might be that TheMista knows they're in a good position, and they are focusing their mind powers on their own settlement. They know their army can destroy Vipers, which is mostly composed of longbows, but they want to go into the next fight knowing that their economy is in order. Everything is up to scratch. They don't have to cut away to sort out food in the middle of battle. They can just focus and dedicate themselves to this next and perhaps final assault. Villagers laughing to return to some old berry picking fields safely. Some yellow knights moving around the southern pass. In fact, one's already here to provide some harassment, keeping Viper's toes a-twinkling. Might have been an overreaction to a single knight. I'm sure the TheMista is pleased by that. Wow, this guy's a legend. Let's do this. I thought this was going to go full Dynasty Warriors for a moment, or the superior warrior Orochi. But alas, he was a mere mortal who could only take 50 arrows before being felled. That's all it takes to kill a knight. There 1 second, then bang, 50 arrows dead. Could happen to anyone. A new town center is up for the Viper, next to stone and gold. Delicious. The old one lays in ruins. Is the TheMista ready for that next attack? Battering ram being sent forward. Their army has not grown much. They must have been doing quite a bit of homekeeping. I'd say the Viper is criticizing how long they are taking because they've sent out their own force, which honestly, it could do the most damage this way. Their longbows approaching like a plague mist to any villagers. The longbows instead bully the mill, and the spears are left to do the gruesome work. This would have been the best time for the TheMista to strike. No more hiding under that white tower. Cavalry straight into the back of the longbows, and job's done. But that would require moving through Viper's settlement ever so slightly. So instead, the TheMista's army takes the safe passage back to defend. The harass continues. Still thinking about that wall to close off this cliff pass. Maybe there's a plant within Viper's political inner circle saying it's too costly for a wall, and walls are for the weak. Ignore that guy. Build that wall. The TheMista deals with the remaining spearfolk. This kill squad just keeps recruiting. They want to be 100% certain that victory will be theirs. Nothing left to chance because, remember, this is for the big first place prize. That prize is $7,000. Well worth making a keep in this game for it. Second place is $3,000. So one of these commanders is at least going home with $3,000. The opponents these two just defeated, the third and fourth place, received $1,500, and everyone else who finished in the final 16 received $500. So a lot of people coming away with something from this. The TheMista throwing their army, taking the south route this time, packing in around that outpost. They're acting like raiders, destroying whatever is in their path, including these homes. The siege is not just frightening, but it's gotta be demoralizing, hasn't it? The Viper has put together a few spring owls, but what can stop the knights? Even if the few spears stand their ground together, there isn't enough spears, and grouping up will just open them up to being hit by catapults. The TheMista mysteriously orders their forces to halt. The Viper are advancing with their spring owls first. What is it that they hope to gain by doing that? Sometimes this maneuver feels like a bait, an invitation to take out your siege equipment, but that trick has rarely worked in the EGC so far. I think I recall one instance where it did, but every other time it's scrap wood. The TheMista isn't too hasty on their decisions, so they won't fall for anything like that. Checking in and keeping the north. The villagers will be gathering berries under its protection. 3 spearmen scouting. They've got the spread formation still left on, so they gain a wider search area. No doubt, if they should find anything, their lives will be forfeit at this stage of the game. This area of Viper's now city, which has undergone rapid development. I'm amazed the TheMista has just let the Viper be alone for so long. Now they look pretty healthy. The army composition is a problem against all of this, for sure. TheMista, looping round, is going to encounter that wall, which isn't as robust as it will need to be. Oh, look at this beautiful vantage point. You've got to get an outpost there. Having all of the siege equipment atop of the cliff to fire down and rain death and destruction. Oh, it'll be an Age of Empires dream. TheMista's gonna do it. They're gonna seize the power. The villagers are going to be showered with the love of their pebble god. Rock release. Only 5 villagers to shoot. 5 villagers are killed. One might wish for more, but that's all that was in range today. Viper is nowhere to be seen. Can you blame them? Who's gonna stand in front of this? Longbows won't do anything to the siege units. They are practically immune. If it were crossbows, however, that's a different matter. Crossbows are not too shabby. Or if you had fire projectiles from the university, that's good too, but Imperial Age would be surprising to see. Neither side is putting resources to aging up at the moment. I'm starting to think that the TheMista is either enjoying the view from up here or is purposefully drawing out the fight. Maybe they've had the best night's sleep. Maybe they've got stockpiles of food and drink, and they're just banking on Viper to get exhausted or be unprepared. Remember, both players have played their semi-final matches just before this. 4 matches each. It's a long night for them. And this is a best of 7. It could go for 7 matches. With how much time that was spent lingering around here, could have dropped a keep on that cliff, mister. Viper hasn't been sitting around idle. They got 3 battering rams. They'll do okay against a keep. It'll feel slow, maybe take a minute. Plenty of time for Mister to respond, but given the current pace of their movements, it'll be a slow response. Spears are extremely ambitious if they think they are going to get near any cavalry. The cavalry will come to you, never the other way around. The keep is definitely falling. Congratulations on making it to the 30-minute mark. Where the flip is Mister? They're over here? Is this Grandma's army? Get some spit on those boots. Just for clarification, an army only marches as fast as its slowest unit. So if you group the whole army up with siege units, then it will be slow. Lots of units might be converging. Is this stealth forest going to lead to a shocking development? This could be the moment. Eyes on the battlefield! The cavalry also advances from the rear flank. This is simple. There is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. The Viper's forces on full retreat. A keep will not be the path to redemption. The Spring Elves will be the last ones to be turned to dust. Will the castle complete? It does not matter. The Viper will have to coerce some townsfolk to take up arms, train the art of the spear, and also the art of taking a ballista bolt to the chest. These new soldiers already being sent to the proving grounds. There's a town center to defend, a duty to uphold, 10 commoners in dire need of rescue. It's not a bad replenishment. Spearmen are fast to produce. But how many more times could Viper recover something like this? Still doesn't feel like enough. TheMista is shifting away from this region, though. Viper's battle plan is to stick a keep there. The TheMista's divided their forces. They've got one moving around the small island cliff. The Spring Elf manages to pick off one of the mangonels. The TheMista is moving all over the place. The spearmen are in unison. They are a threat like that, especially if the cavalry is fractured. But not enough of a threat to overcome all of the Spring Elves and all of the everything. That's the melee fighters smoked. On to the physical flinging mages. Longbows have been a massive drain through this game. The white flag is up. England has been defeated. Victory goes to TheMista. And that is the first point to them in this best of 7. This is how the story starts. I would have to describe watching this battle as how it feels to be over-encumbered in Morrowind. But you must understand, these battles, all of them, take different shapes, sizes, and forms. This is just one battle of many. There is little time to analyze as well. We must chug on to the second match. So, do remember to check out the Ironcast Discord and all of the information in the video description before adventuring forth. My name's Anuki, and I'll see you soon.